Hi everyone. Today I have a privileged guest with me. His name is Ajay. I know Ajay for quite some time right now. He's a close friend of mine and also a business colleague, I would say. And in the ERP space, you come across a lot of amazing minds. He's one of those amazing person who I've connected over a period of time. He has 15 years of experience working in Microsoft Dynamics landscape, and he started off his career as a functional technical consultant, and then to delivery manager to program manager, and now he's the CEO of Seer Dynamics. So I would like to welcome you, Ajay Jha, for today's Shaki's ERP podcast. Welcome, Ajay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jackie.
How are you doing today?
All good. Great.
Good. I want to start off with understanding more about the ERP landscape in today's discussion. So, I wanted to know from your perspective, right? Every ERP partner comes with quite good amount of expertise. They have technical knowledge. They know the industries well. But there's certain things where the customer is expecting much more than just the technical implementation. There's certain areas where the customers are expecting them to know about certain things. So how would you advise this for these partners to look at what the customer intentions are? So in your perspective, what do you think the partner is missing to address this? What customer requirements are?
When we talk about ERP as such, it has evolved a lot, right? So how you implement or how you look ERP 20 years before, you cannot look it in the same lens now. So now what is happening is you no longer consider ERP as a data entry, system. You're not there to record the information. Now you want a solution. So what more important is nowadays is that how you solution the problems or the requirements of a customer. It has to be end to end. It has to be full flow as such. So rather than looking the application or ERP system as something like a data entry or back office application, or you have to look into that this back office plus how it addresses the need of a customer. So that's where the change is there. Along with that, what has happened is that the evolution is happening all around, right? So ERP, for a very long decades of time, for a long time actually, they were okay to be considered in working in silos. But
Right.
now you cannot be working in silos. You have ecosystem evolving. You have apps coming up. You have need of flows in the system. You want automation here, and which is very fast. So the ERP actually has to be looked from all those perspectives. The ERP has to be set up for the future,
Yeah.
not for now. So
Correct.
that's the big thing which I think need a change in the mentality of how a partner should look when
Right.
they are providing solutions to a customer with respect to the ERP.
Can I also say that this would be something related to maybe a misalignment from the customer side and also from the past partner side? Do you think so?
That happens during the journey of an implementation. So let's say when we talk about why ERP systems in place are failing, or there are a lot of cases where we see that ERP was not being successful, right? The implementation was not successful. I think the main component is only misalignment because the product had been used by so many customers all across the globe.
Right.
So it's not only the product actually. Now this product has to be rightly designed to cater to the requirement of a business. So it's 50-50% on both ends. That's how I can put it. It's a 50% responsibility of a partner, 50% of a customer. The team who is building or helping the ERP implementation is equally responsible. So that's where if you're not aligned and you drag it on either side, it just goes into a wrong direction. It could end up into having many customizations, end up into having a wish list. So what I say is, ERP, when you're implementing the ERP for the first time, focus on the need, focus on the foundation. Don't try to make it as a wish list. It never ends, and with every 6 months, you see a new, technology coming in, new phones coming in, new features coming in.
Right.
It's the same. The ERP is not a rigid system. It's like a living organism. That's how it keeps on evolving. The market evolves, the ecosystem evolves, the requirements evolve, ERP evolves. So you have to define the baseline, and that's where I think the right partner job is.
Yeah.
That you segregate those needs and wish lists. Otherwise, you keep on dragging the project, and in the end, it just fails.
Okay. Another area, one of the questions which I had is most of the people you would have heard saying like ERP failure, avoid this ERP failures. Don't do this to have the ERP failure, and it's more like this has been, you would hear it, and I've been hearing it every day. So from the customer perspective, what do you think? These are the, maybe you have to pick a list, right? These are the top things you'd have to do to avoid doing an ERP failure. So what would that be, and how would you advise somebody who has a customer who does not understand the ERP landscape? So what do you recommend them to avoid these things to make sure that the ERP is not a failure project?
Um, okay, so from the point of view of what we are seeing now, the journey of ERP or the expectation of an ERP implementation is completely different.
Right.
What I mean to say is either we can take a different approach where your ERP is bigger than the base foundation part. So you can have, if the customer is there and they have resources, they should hire a business consultant who he or she can align the business needs.
Right.
Because what happens is when you think ERP as just one tool, it's not off the shelf product.
Correct.
You have to understand any big ERP interacts with multiple departments. You have procurement department, you have marketing, you have HR, you have finance department.
Yeah.
And now that's where the gap is, that you need someone who can link all these together. So partner do that job. However, they are looking always from application side of view. You need someone to look from a business side of view. Let's say if you don't have a business consultant, then that mentality has to be set up that when the customer is appointing the business champions or ERP champions or project manager or SMEs, subject matter expert from various departments, what happens is during the course of the journey, these segregation, right? You have a finance champion, you have a supply chain champion. They start working in isolation. They start thinking, okay, this is my job, that you go to that person. That is also some, I would say, misalignment which is happening where the project derail, and then people start taking their own ownership. It's rather than working together. So the collaboration fails during the journey.
Right.
And that's very common. So for that, either you should have a business consultant which plugs in together, or the top management should set this, that no guys, you all are together in this. Not one person can go live. I cannot say, I'm gonna make live only finance, but no, not the payroll. It doesn't work that way, right? Your whole cycle works together. So that is something, if the people are aligned on this, it works. And of course, the partner helps there. The partner understands the queries and how they tie up in the end. So I would say customer has to, or the top management should make this as a process where they all see this as one single project.
Correct.
Not an isolated ones.
It's interesting you said this because the concept of the business consultant is in the Western world, it's pretty much famous and everybody opts for that, But where some of the regions or some places we see that there is still a alien, topic, like, why should I have a third party consultant come in and validate this as a middleman? There are a lot of larger organizations who do this. But I think it's equally important at a mid-level or a SME kind of market as well, that you should have somebody as a business consultant or a consulting partner come in and validate the requirement before they implement it. So this really helps them. So
Yes.
this really
For certain SMEs, you can think of where, to be honest, if your process is very simple, you just need not a lot of variations in your business. It's very flat. Okay, you can go ahead with it. But mostly when an ERP is implemented, you have huge expectations. The top management who is investing in ERP, they're not looking for a solution for maybe a year or two. They're looking definitely for a decade to cover. And that too, this system should cover with all the changes or all the volatility in the market or new offerings and all those things.
Correct.
So yes, it's a good thing to have a consultant in between, which aligns and helps, if the partner is not able to do it, or if your team is not that capable of, linking it together.
Correct. Good. So that comes to another question which I have as an extension of this, right? So there are certain scenarios where unavoidable there are ERP failures. Okay, now customers as well as the partners start with the project with a very good intention that this has to be a successful project, but sometimes for various reasons it tend to be a failed project. Now, in your opinion, what is the patience level of the customer? Do you think, based on the experience you had, do they, the moment it's an ERP failure, do they scrap the whole project and then they go with a new ERP system, or do they give another try? You know what, guys, we failed once. Let's do another try. Let's try and look at what are the mistakes we did, and then do we go ahead with? Or they keep on trying till they achieve that. So, in your opinion, where do you see that they draw the line and say that either we're going to go with the same system, or we're going to scrap everything and go with a completely new, different system? In your experience, what do you see this the patience level of the customer? How many times do you even think they try it to fix this?
So when it comes to ERPs, right, these are not very small investment. I would say it's a good investment for any business, and this investment has to be there for a decade or maybe a couple of decades. So it becomes a part of your organization. In most of the cases, what I've seen is customer really try to make it live. They try to When I say customer, it's the top leadership. They will not just give it up. But yes, twice, two, maximum three. That's what I would say. But what happens is when they have a failed experience, they will try again. They will try again. If they fail again, then the question start coming or doubt comes directly to the product. Maybe the product is not a fit. So that's where the line comes. But I would say they will give it. They are not going to just try to leave it. It's a good investment for any company, and you want to try it, you want to make it work. They would have done considerable amount of evaluation before selecting the product. So we have few offerings in the market, and if you are selecting something, you're going ahead. And one more component is when you identify it as a failure. So if it's identified in the earlier phase that your partner is not right, if the requirement or solution design itself is not right, then something is there. That's a red flag. But if your failure comes during UAT or go live, means you have already done quite a good amount of investment. So you will give it a shot. The customer will try definitely to come back, make the system working as much as possible. They will definitely try to explore other partners as well.
Correct. Right. Because as you know that the more chances they keep trying, the confidence level, as you said, from the partners as well as the customers also goes down.
Yeah.
Let's say they've already tried twice, they fail, and the third one they would just do for the sake of it. They don't have the same level of the motivation or the intention to have this successful. It's not as the first time. So the more they keep trying it, even though the product is good enough and I'm sure that it'll be successful, but they don't have the motivation to keep pushing it more, right? So rather they just wipe the slate clean and then they start fresh again.
That also is there. Means there are some cases where once they start believing that no, it's not the right fit. That's what I'm saying. The more component when they decide on scrapping everything is when they are lost confidence on the product itself. So until unless they have a trust on the product but not the partner, they will give it a shot.
Correct.
But if you feel that the product itself is not a fit, maybe they have done a wrong evaluation earlier.
Yeah.
Then they will try to look out some other ERPs and completely try to scrap the one.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk about the role of the OEM itself. There are a lot of bigger players here. Every OEM has a different line of products of their own. So whenever there's an ERP project has been implemented, Touchwood is successful. For some reason it is going towards a failure or is any challenges that are coming up in these projects. How do you think the role of an OEM is in spearheading these projects and making sure that the customer still doesn't lose the faith or the trust on the product itself? Because these are all partners who represent a bigger brand. Yeah. But what is these brands or the OEMs? How do you think their role is critical in sustaining the customer and making sure the customer is retained? How do you see the role of OEMs in these projects?
Very, very important. So the OEM actually nowadays, what are the expectation? What we can see is OEM has to be innovative. They have to be highly into R&D. Now, what has happened is that every customer, they can just easily search what is the roadmap, how the product is looking forward. Nobody is purchasing an ERP system for just few months or few years. They are always looking for a very long term. Now, long term could be maybe a decade or plus, or sometime in their mind, maybe forever. So that's the base ERP you're building. You can't switch systems that easy. So the role of an OEM is very, very important because you actually want to have a product where the partner is actually completely committed into making the product offering more and more. And one more component which nowadays you will find is how this adapt or touch the other segment as well. For example, ERP is only one segment of systems, but how it interact with other ecosystem changes.
Yeah.
The mobility is one of it. Let's say the payment gateways are one of it. Other web services are one of it. So how your product is compatible, how much it's growing faster, how is your integration capabilities, how are your future enhancement component. And one more component which comes here is that what is your depth in terms of the product richness, plus what is the breadth. So how many offerings are there with the OEM? Right. So that's where it's very important that if the OEM is also covering, for example, Microsoft, right? So Microsoft actually has ERP, but then they also have Office, which are productivity goals, but they also provide you the cloud storage. Then they also gives you Power Apps, Power Platform. Now they're offering AI, Copilot agents and all. So it actually gives you overall consolidation there. You're not worried about this product tomorrow might not be integrable with something, or this application might not work. Now, it just in the today's world, the moment you maybe approves an invoice or approves something, it just sends an email automatically, right? So you cannot have an integration with an email service provider. It should be seamless.
Correct.
And you, this is what the future world is looking into, that it's everything going to be rapid, everything going to be fast. Nobody has time to invest in integrations of months of integrations, or forget about years. Now people do not even give an ERP to be implemented within a year, right? So everybody want to be done. I remember those cases where sometime ERP implementation takes 2 years.
Yeah.
And the customer will accept it. The whole ecosystem says yes, because at that time the change also comes after a long period of time. Now the evaluation, the technology is changing so fast. It's so fast in servers, in spaces, in technology. You can't be sitting there. The product itself has to grow, plus along with the ecosystem.
Correct.
So OEM is very, very important. It has to be innovative, highly innovative.
Good. I think that rightly the point what you said is in terms of the OEM, whenever the customers are implementing the ERP, they also have a vision to have for the next 5 years roadmap.
Yes.
And now the market becoming more and more competitive, there are a lot of new players that are emerging in this market with some advanced functionalities. They're coming up with SaaS products. They're coming in with plug and play solutions. Every OEM is working right now with an AI component to it. So unless and otherwise, if an ERP OEM or a brand who doesn't innovate or do R&Ds and come up with these new solutions and functionalities, even for challenges with the specific modules or industries, then it could be overrun. So that's the valid point which you mentioned, because it's really important.
I just recently was listening or heard about a new term. So we have this SaaS, right?
Yeah.
Software as a service or solution as a service.
Yeah.
Now the new term is result as a service.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually going in the direction where you do not care about the solution itself or the system. You just want the result. So that's the journey where maybe in a few years we'll start seeing offerings or expectation of offering from any solution by these OEMs that they immediately give results. So that's how it is being going to in that direction actually.
Yeah, right. Okay, another thing I want to ask you is from the partner side. These ERP partners. Now, if you look at the whole implementation cycle, you have different stages involved. You have starting from your business study or the discovery sessions we have with the client, then you have your functional requirement or business requirement documentation preparation, then you have your FRDs to be signed. I don't want to sound technical, but there are a lot of stages that are involved in this. Now, in which section or in which stage do you think there are a lot of challenges that come in, and where the customer is prone to having issues or misalignments coming in? It could be either in the first stage itself or it could be end of the stage. Where do you see that it's majority of your cases, or based on your experience, you see these issues come up? And how do you think the partner should control that?
So I would say that it's that solution design stage. The first stage itself is very, very important or critical. So when you are doing the requirement analysis or understanding the requirements or building a solution, that is the part where it defines everything, whether your system is going to be successful or not, provided you do not keep on changing the design or you don't keep on changing the analysis, right? So we are taking as a flat implementation where people know that what they want. In that case, this becomes very, very important. You cannot take it lightly. There's few cases where partner thinks this is just a documentation. Just listen, put it there, send it. It's just a milestone. No, that becomes your basis of how you are going to design a solution, how you are going to build henceforth, how your system looks like, and what is the purpose of it. So your solution design is also tied up to the purpose of what expectations you're looking into, in the end when you go live. So the customer normally comes to know either maybe in UAT or they have a real experience during go live or after go live, which is too late. So your solution designs are the phase where it's very, very important. And as a partner, it's a responsibility of a partner to ensure that you guide the customer in the right direction, because customer is just like the partner is like a doctor or a surgeon, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the customer comes and they might have few ideas about how it goes, but not all customers will have the mature IT team or understanding one, right? They are relying on a partner knowledge and suggestions and feedback on how you should do. So it's actually the partner side which is more important to help them how the solution look like. And all of these, as what I said earlier, that these all interdepartmental connections ties up.
Correct.
You cannot do a inventory management module without linking it to procurement. You can't do procurement without linking it to finance. So they are all tied up. So you need to understand the solution as a whole. You cannot
Yeah.
work in isolation. And secondly, when you are going to implement, there are some things which I would say that extra mile, that extra
Yeah.
1%, we say that has to come from partner, which means you understand what had not been said. For example, the customer says, okay, I have one person who does the vendor onboarding. I have one person who does the item master creation. I have one person, let's say, who does everything, who onboard everything.
Yeah.
You understand that, no, that person does not understand, because let's say there is a person who create an item master, and in item master, you need to select a costing method.
Yeah.
There's no way they can understand if they are not financial background, what weighted average or FIFO is. And so you need to make sure that you put that element of enhancement where you say, okay, if you select this item group, automatically the costing method is defaulted, something like that. So as a partner, you need to go that extra mile, little bit of fine tuning, so human error chances are avoided. Your solutions look error prone, and that becomes a foundation of how your system looks like.
Yeah.
So, and in the end, what the customer is looking for, they are looking for a solution which is working from their perspective,
Yeah.
and they are able to generate the output without errors or mistakes being committed. So you put that small elements of controls initially, it's helps a lot.
Very good. And you've seen that I personally have seen some of the shifting that has been happening from the partner focus, because all these ERP partners, a while back, I would say the focus has been mainly on implementations and services related. Now, as you know, there are two components in any of these ERP projects. There's licenses component and there is services component. Then there is one more, probably you can say, support component, right? Now, I do have a feeling that there's certain organizations who are moving the focus from the core implementation itself, which is a major chunk, to a more of a licensing and a product based selling that is happening in the region, is what I feel. Maybe it's my own personal opinion. So how do you think it's going to affect the market? Because if you're in the volume selling licenses, and if you're into selling your own product or add-on solutions to the customers, because that becomes an agenda. So for every requirement which are coming in, you having a product, you're having a mapping with a certain solution. So it's becoming more like a volume selling and a license selling than solution selling itself. So how do you see this is going to affect the ERP landscape?
See, you have your own product, nothing wrong in that. You even have your ISP products and all, but it should cater to a gap, a need which is missing completely in your main product, let's say. But when it comes to ERP, specific ERP offerings, you cannot diminish the value or importance of service. They're not off the shelf product.
Right.
Even within the same country, within the same nature or industry, you will find different customers in the same line of business, completely different process. When you analyze, they have a different way they deal. Same line of business, but they have a differentiation completely. The way they work is different. The way this customer works is different. So when you analyze it, you will understand, no, the product is same, but it has to fit to this customer in a different manner, and it has to fit to the other customer in a different manner. So you cannot actually, have one off the shelf. Now, what we say is the volume selling works when you have a limited offering or off the shelf kind of product, which means you just plug and play, that's it. But ERPs are not really, mainly they are not meant for that.
Right.
ERPs are mainly for complex, business organizations. They are completely evolving. As I said, they do not look like only a system. It's actually something which evolves with you. Within 2 years, your business change. You have acquired few new entities. The ERP should be able to support it. That's the whole purpose of ERP. You started launching new product line of business. And suddenly you need new ways to deal it. It could be mobile apps or mobilities, or you want some cloud services. Now ERP is connected again to that. So that's where it changes. And without having a proper service base, if you as a partner is diminishing the value of services,
Yeah.
then there is a flaw, because it means you will be doing patchworks. You will
Yeah.
be doing workarounds and just okay, leave it, or you might be outsourcing to that doesn't work.
Correct.
So you need to actually have a full flow of information, learning the domain knowledge of that product, and your service team is very, very important, because in the end, once they start using the system, it's never going to go flawless. Something will come. Either
Correct.
it's the mistakes or human errors which are there. Either it's a need of automation, and it works like human needs. Whatever you achieve now, within 6 months you will think, well, what next? And this keep on growing.
Correct.
So ERP has to evolve, which is only possible with services, right? So very
Definitely.
important.
Yeah. Good. So this is where I have another question on this. Now, this is again my personal opinion, where I've seen that customers do not have the whole information about how the ERP partner landscape works, right? Because they are good in their business, they are good in what they do. They are, let's say, real estate or trading company. They know how to manage their business. But when it comes to ERP, it's a different ball game altogether. I have seen in some of the accounts where I'm working with, where I've seen some of my ERP landscape, partners who I'm working with, where they come to know about some of the stories where there is a bit of a malpractice that have been happening around in some of the accounts. So what is happening is maybe they take the concept of land and expand. So they go with a very smaller licenses value, and at the time of go live, they say big laundry list of licenses. They say, hey, buy these licenses, we need them. Then they also have certain things where they do not give access of source codes to the customers, because customers do not know how to get the source codes of these solutions or customization they have built. There's also access to the admin portals are not being given to some of the customers. Client does not know that, okay, these are all my deliverables which I have to get it from the partners, because you're signing a contract with an ERP contract, you go ahead with this, these are the product is delivered. So, but there is a whole, I would say, a big story behind this. So how do you see this in the market, or how do you see that? How can we control this as a customer? How do you think you will advise a customer saying, hey, these are all the loopholes here, so you have to be aware of it. So what is your take on this?
I agree. I agree. It's very difficult, especially you have only few OEMs with solid ERP offerings currently, and let's say you have multiple partners and everybody is showcasing the same product. So as a customer, it's very difficult to, because there's no unique differentiation. What happens in that case? You select a partner. So when the product is, all are showcasing you the product and product looks fine, then the technical evaluation passes. But what becomes a primary factor? And that's where it becomes something, I would say, as an ownership of a customer, these are all linked to that. What happens is you take the decision purely on commercials. You will start taking as a customer, okay, let's go with the cheapest one. Not always they are not going to give you, because whenever, as you rightly said, the most of the time the cheapest partners are always looking to deliver quickly, to just do the things the way, and sometimes it works as well. But the moment complexity comes, you will be stuck. And that's where they are trying to earn. See, they have given you a cheapest offering to enter the account. They are going to take it somewhere or the other. It could be in the form of change request. It could be in the form of additional licenses. It could be form of some wrong setups and configuration repeat, where you have to slowly. So it's similar to spend $1 and save a penny. So in the end, when you look in a long term, then you suddenly found, I've been investing a lot and the system is still not giving me the results. So that's because your evaluation parameters are more inclined toward the price. That has to be done, because if, let's say, when we talk about ERP, I would say it's very underrated, profile, because as a solution architect, let's say the person would have invested a decade of, his or her time in terms of learning the product. And not only one part of IT, when we talk about ERP systems, it's not only IT. You also need to know the domain. So you have to be tech savvy. At the same time, if you are a financial consultant or financial architect, you need to know the finance. Otherwise, you won't be able to interact to a CFO. If you are a supply chain guy, you need to understand the supply chain concepts. So that person has invested dual, not only they know the business side of it, but also the IT side of it. And if you think that that person is going to be so cheap, so this is where it happens that they are worthy. There are people who are a partner with good resources, but the resources, good resource also come at cost.
Correct.
So I would say the customer always have to understand that why this happens is because they have initially thought things might go right, which is not always when you look only from the lowest price, angle.
Right.
We as a partner at Seer Dynamics always try to submit a checklist. So whenever a customer comes, because I understand one more part that Microsoft has been working on making these practices reduced to a level. Right. So when you onboard to a cloud, you are the person, someone from the organization approves the LCS. But what happens is a lot of time the IT person is not there, or they're not very equipped as a customer, which makes sense. You are going on cloud, you don't want to have a local IT team. So in that case, what happens? It all driven by the partner.
Right.
and the customer actually relies completely on the partner. Now they have their global admin passwords, they have their LCS detail, they do not share what code they are doing. Sometimes they do not even share the source code as well,
Yeah.
which actually is the property of a customer, not the partner. You're not selling an ice beer, right? You're building something for the customer, and customer is paid for it. So in that case, what happens is honestly it's a responsibility of a partner that you should be ethical in the business, and that's where we actually submit a report. We say, okay, do you have the sufficient source code? Do you have the environment details under your control? Multi-factor authentication along with someone from your organization is there or not? Do you have a secure code retention and all those things? So it's like it's actually a responsibility of a partner, because as a partner you drive. But yes, when these partners are there who just want to take more or exploit the customer,
Yeah.
they try to go into this malpractices of either hiding the source code or making the life difficult for a customer, difficult for the customer to switch to other partner. All those things comes.
Yeah, right.
But in the baseline, it is all these are passing through because these are repeating this. There are unhappy customers, right?
Correct.
So they're losing that, but they're gaining entry to new accounts only because of the price.
Right.
So
right.
they give good discounts, or they will say,
Yeah.
I have a real time scenario where the BOQ itself was not qualified. But what happens is, a customer is evaluating multiple partners, and they took the BOQ and they said, okay, this is the cheapest. Let's go with it. But then when you apply or go to the Microsoft site to register the BOQ, they decline. They no, this do not qualify.
Right.
Now, as a customer, think about the condition of IT manager or IT head. They have to go back to the board to ask, no, the BOQ doesn't qualify. So they try in a hurry. They will say, okay, let's add 10 more license and please proceed, right?
Correct.
So sometimes that urgency also comes. Sometimes you entrap it, but these are all malpractices, as you said, and quite unethical, I would say.
Yeah, it's good that you are following that as a practice, that you have a checklist. I'm really surprised. It's really good that you have a checklist where you're sending it to the customers, that we need to make sure that these are the list of things you have. Again, let's say you are not there, or you as a partner, a lot of partners who might still be doing it, but as a customer, they cannot expect that from a partner. I think this goes to my another question, that is, which you discussed before, that the role of a business consultant in these kind of an accounts, right? So when you have a fresh implementation or even a migration kind of a project, they will have the whole checklist of things that they need to get a control over from the previous partner, which the customer might not be aware of. And I think another important factor here is the compliances that are there in the contract itself, the clause that are there in the contracts, because these are template-based contracts, which majority of the ERP partners will probably be using it. But these contracts has to be thoroughly vetted and validated to make sure that there is no challenges for the customer that comes in, because somebody needs to have a really look at as a technical validation on those contracts as well, because there could be a single line that says that we're not bound to give you the source code, then it's legally because it's part of the contract. So I think there are a lot of factors where the customers need to look at it. Having a business consultant to validate their handovers are done properly, a legal team looking at the contract side of things. And in ERP, a contract is quite different from a different contract, right? So these are a lot of different factors that you have to validate before you start even an ERP project.
I would say, most of the time, yes. Because when you have a good team, a customer is a bit mature, they understand, that's a different case. They can validate, they can understand it. But mostly what is happening nowadays is every ERP is no longer a wish list or a want. It's a need now. Yeah. So every organization want to be on cloud. Every organization want quick system access and all those things, right? So you want a ERP system to be there. Now, the lot of customers are there where they just completely rely on a partner. Because you are not tech savvy, and that's where we are moving, where we are with cloud and all. We are saying you don't need an IT guy, you don't need to invest in infra, you don't need to invest in this, that, which makes sense because I don't want to be worried, right? I just want to do my job. Correct. And what happens is then the partner role is very important. So the partner becomes I would say a factor, very important factor, because they kind of become their outsource IT, they kind of become their outsource consultant and so many things, and they will reach out to them. I've seen. And that's the differentiation factor. See, if you go in this unethical way of doing things, yes, it may be. But these are all in the end short terms, right? If you want to have a long-term trust, you need to give more, right? So a lot of times we actually tell the customer, no, please enable this. Please do this. This is where your file is. There are a few cases where we created a document. We put it a drive, created a drive for them. We enabled in their mobile
Right.
phone. We enabled how you can see it, because what will happen if tomorrow you lose it? How will you recover? There are
Correct.
tools which are recovery and all, but it's painful, right, in the long journey. And sometimes when you have all these setups, maybe down the lane 3-4 years you do not even notice anything. It
Yeah.
becomes so as a partner it's very important. And that's where we at Seer always believe in terms of reliability. So every time you see this, there is a chaos now going on, right? Everybody is a partner. There's so many offerings. It also leads to confusion. You don't understand what is right. And it's very difficult to understand what is right, or who is the right partner, who is not a right partner. Everywhere there is a confusion. In that case, you have to just stick on doing the right practices. You stick on helping the customer understand their system, because in the end, the data or the system or everything is customers.
Correct.
It's not a partner actually. Partner can be changed anytime. It's all with the customer. Then the source code is also theirs actually. The credentials are also there. The information, any new offering which comes from Microsoft, which help them, should be told. Ideally, that those are the things which I would say you can't say. It has to be learned. It has to be understood. And it has to be communicated. But I have seen the benefit of it. When you being very, very ethical to a customer, transparent to a customer, gain their trust, it goes a long way.
Good.
And if you really want to have a long-term business plans,
Yeah,
you need to build trust with the customers.
Correct. One final question which I had. One of the things is the role of customers in this whole journey itself. We know partners have been doing good. In spite of that, there are certain areas where there could be failures, and there's certain partners who does not have those capabilities to deliver this. Now, the role of customers itself, where I'm sure that you'll agree with me that whenever there is certain implementation that goes on, there's a lot of dependency on the customers as well, to validate it, to do the test case scenarios, to check to make sure that my chart of accounts is really good, or is it just a replica of my Excel, or do they have the real time to actually sit down and validate the system which is coming up with? Are they running through all the scenarios in the UAT? Because I feel that there is a misconception with the customers are that, I have a partner who's coming and they're going to do everything here. It's a plug and play kind of a system. Maybe it's a solution that comes in on this particular go live. I have the system ready. But there's a journey, right? So it has to start from point A to point B. There's a lot of dependencies on the customers as well, which they have to spend time on. Because I see that mainly the finance, if you look at it, they're running behind the month-end closings. Then they have this auditing. All of those comes into picture. So now, how do you think that the responsibility which the customers should take on these kind of projects? Because do you think it's 50-50? Do you think it's 30-70? What do you think is the client's role on these kind of projects?
I would say it is, initially it depends. So in terms of depend, what I mean is, if the customer is mature, they understand what they want, what the outcome they are looking for, which is what stage of the business they are into, the team capability and maturity, then it's going to be 70-30. The customer role is more important, because that's what they want to build in the system. That's what they want to, they know what they want from the system.
Right.
But if in case the customer team is very small, or they're end users, mostly only focus on the normal works, they don't understand the IT, they don't understand the new process. Let's say someone coming, from tele or some other, system, they can't comprehend how the ERP flow looks like. They are just used to do only the financial transaction. In that case, it reverse. The 70% role comes of a partner actually in that case. There are so many incidents where we have done the testing, because we understand they are going to give us a sign off, but they are not going to test it. They don't know how to test sometimes. So we test it, we ensure that things are proper. We put additional security control. I have seen such cases where when we go or let's do an account and they're struggling, and we saw there are 30 users at customer place, and all 30 are system admin.
Wow.
It's easy to add, because you don't want to waste your energy in giving proper permissions and all. Who will test it?
Correct.
It takes time as a partner, right? If the customer is naive, they don't understand, or they don't go deeper into it, you just try to do add as admin and just leave it there.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the partner role comes in. You have to take chart, for example, chart of account.
Yeah.
They are going to give you the base only, what they are used to. So you have to evaluate that during a requirement session, understand what you can ask them,
Yeah.
and then what you should propose them. Because as a partner, It's your responsibility. You have been working in this ecosystem with so many other case studies. You know what are the best practices. The system is built on best practices. So you actually suggest, why not this? Just build sometime. Certain places we don't even ask. We do the right thing. For example, the system configurations or data. In my experience of so many years, I say I have only one customer who gave me the data properly as the template.
Yeah, I know that you handle more than 100 projects or 100 customers. One
Only
customer.
one. Yes, they actually. I was so surprised because I got the data and I literally for the first time just plug in and it got imported without any errors.
Wow.
Otherwise, it's all haywire. You do the reconciliation. You tell them that why this is not matching. So that's actually there because they are all different experiences, and most of the time, some are the first time user of real ERP.
Right.
So they don't understand. They don't have that knowledge. They're just doing the work in maybe Excels or some small systems, and when they come to a bigger world, they suddenly get confused. So it's a role of a partner where you push them. You do this. So as a process, in our case, we have our own UAT, you can say, which we test it. So customer testing is there. We are training them and testing them, but it's our responsibility, right? That the permissions are correct, or the screens are fine, or the flow is fine, or the financial entries are getting posted correctly. So I have a case where the financial entries were configured so wrongly by some partner that the revenue account and the cost COGS account both were in negative. Now, what you will do, your finance has to be accurate. You cannot have a system with incorrect financials. So you need to learn those things, what to be asked, what not to ask, what you need to understand from the team, the capability of the customer team size who are part of your implementation. And if you are going more of a first timer, it's a first time implementation, it has to be proactively done by the partner more than a customer.
Correct. Pretty good. One of the other points also I wanted to ask you is that let's say they take an industry, for example, let's say trading industry or distribution or 3PL, they have manufacturing. Whenever these industries are there, the customers will always have a mindset that it's an industry. You guys would have done multiple implementation. It's pretty much same as how you're doing it for the other industry. But what I have a feeling is that even though it's a trading as an industry, there are a lot of processes that are unique from one company to another, the way how they do it. Majority of the ones in financials, it still remains the same because it's you have to follow certain compliances, right? So the auditing is there, it's pretty much the same. But there are a lot of other operations or sales processes would be quite different than one trading to another trading, even though it's trading. So I'm sure that you come across these requirements, right? So you being somebody from the technical side of things, how do you handle these requirements? Because it's not just trading as plug and play kind of a solution. Every industry has, or every customer to another customer from same industry have a different process which they follow.
Yeah,
right?
You are spot on. It's a myth. I would say from my experience point of view that this happens. A lot of time you think or believe. So there are two components to it. One, you are in a very, very unique, specialized vertical industry. When you talk about trading or manufacturing to a certain extent, they are more horizontal, even though manufacturing is a vertical, but let's say you're manufacturing plastic. The other company is also manufacturing plastic. So you try to say that, okay, have you done there? Then, you might be able to do it in my place, but it changes a lot. It changes on the people. It changes on how you are defining your processes and how they are defining their processes. It changes how your warehouse or operation works. What is the time of it? Is it 24/7 factory or is it working sometime? It all changes accordingly. So what happens is that sometime the customer believes that, okay, this partner is going to come with all the knowledge and they're just going to do the same, copy and paste here. It doesn't work that way because your business process on ground are different. Correct. ERP is actually that's where what my take would be. You first align your business process. Right. Is it the same processes which are there? Is it your operations timings and operation, the way you do business is same or not? Even though end output is generating plastic, some kind of a product there, but your business is not aligned completely. They are having a different maybe equipments or the way they develop is something different, which you don't have. Now, how are you expecting the ERP system to cover it up? ERP is going to be a support system for your business, not vice versa. They are not going to create or change your business. So that's also one of the components where I have seen that during ERP implementation, customers start changing business process. To a certain extent, it's all right, but you cannot expect a lot. It could be the change, or those components could be on best practices, or few changes. The component could be only 10 to 20%, maybe 15%, that's it. But if your process itself is not there, you do not have the sufficient machinery or sufficient equipments or tools at place, at how the system is going to accommodate that.
Yeah.
So then either the project will expand, or your expectation of a customer will change. So that's where the issue comes. Every business is actually very different or unique the way, and it's unique because of the people.
Correct.
The people who come. So if think about an implementation where I have seen 3-4 CEOs change, CFOs changing during the implementation.
Yeah.
And every time a new CFO comes, suddenly they start asking something new.
Yeah.
And we are talking about finance, which is already being with IFRS guidelines and so many. Still there are changes.
Correct.
The way you want to operate changes from person to person.
Correct.
So that's something which is very important, that your business, the ERP is there to follow your business.
Correct.
Not vice versa.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you so much, Ajay. Thank you for your time, and it was really good insights. I think we talked about a lot of important aspects on the whole ERP
Thank you,
landscape.
Shakti. Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good